back to skeleton with a little bit more information. As I said in the first screencast, when you download Skeleton from getskeleton.com, it comes with a basic page, and this is the basic page that it comes with. Inside of that basic page, you have the information you need in terms of how to make it responsive. That's that viewport on line 14, how to link in the CSS style sheets that come with Skeleton. That's line 22 and 23. And then the basics of the framework is a container, line 34. Inside of that container, a row. Inside of that row, at least one column. So it is a div that defines the column. And here we have a column that is 1/2 the total width. So Skeleton itself is built off of a grid system where each column is approximately 1/12 of the overall width of the visible page. That's the view screen. And here we see those examples. And then underneath, we have more sample information, typography, and this is important because it will explain a little bit to you about the EMs. They're actually using REM, but how they're getting these line heights and the basic of the page. There is more spacing on the Skeleton page. Then we have more. It comes with buttons and what rollover buttons look like. Here you'll see the standard button use. This is how you would call the button. And let's go take a peek at the Skeleton CSS so that you can see some of that. This is going to be a little bit messy. I'm going to make it larger so you can see the container is defined. And each container has a max width, so it's set up for 960 pixels wide, and the padding is 20 pixels. And then we have a little more information on the different columns, how many columns, how wide they are, and all of them are set up as a percentage. And that means it's 960 pixels wide, so one column is 4.6% of that 960 pixels. And as we scroll down, we're going to see some information. Font size is 62.5%. So that's actually a little smaller, but then it says we want to use it at 1.5 M of that. Very interesting. So 1.5 times 0.625 is the overall. So it's a little larger than 1. And then as we go down, here are the buttons. Here are how the buttons are defined. So you can make changes to this, and you'll see that I have done so in one of the examples. Okay. Here's the basic example, and then I started adding a few things to it. And what I started adding was the 1 column and 11 columns, as you saw in the first example. By the way, if you read the materials that I provide as samples, you're going to see that I also give you some hints. And this is how you comment your code. it is with a bang sign, which is an exclamation point, dash, dash, whatever you'd like to say, and then dash, dash, and a greater than sign to finish it up. And here we have container, then row, then a combination of columns, and you close those columns, you close your row, you close the container. And so I have one container. Let's go take a peek at that inside of brackets. Here, I'm going to cover this one, 2 and 10, because we already covered 1 and 11 in the first sample. So here is 2 and 10 in between these two HRs, horizontal rules. So between 62 and 71, we have a row with 2 columns, and this results in a wider sidebar. So if I was going to use this for my sidebar, it'd be wider than this sidebar above. And then here's my 10. Should I nest columns inside of rows? Well, no, you really shouldn't. And we're going to scroll down a little bit. Now this is where I am changing some colors. And I mentioned you can edit and change up the CSS yourself if you'd like to. What I did is I chose to use colors that is the wrong site. Let me open up that image. Okay, so colors.co. If you want to get some colors that work well together and then modify them a little bit, I'm going to show you quickly how you could do that. I think I've done this before, though. You can go to many different sites, but colors.co, and then choose from the variety of options that they have available, or you can just choose to type in one that you know, and then change it up a little bit by selecting that box and finding a lighter color. So we can go to alternate shades. And I have some of the university marketing colors here, and then I changed things to be a little lighter, a little darker. And so I wanted to change the CSS for my use. Inside of Skeleton, these are the default buttons. Inside of my sample, I played with those, and this is how I did it. Inside of Skeleton's CSS, I can look for my own comments under the buttons. And here you're going to see on line 205, I changed this color from what it was to this new blue color and the background color. And I really like this about brackets, shows me the yellow color. And I gave myself a comment on this. Inside of CSS, if you want to make comments, it's going to be slash and then an asterisk, whatever it is you want to comment, and then asterisk slash to close your comment. And I believe I also changed one other place. Notice this heavy HR. So here I have HR class equals heavy. I can go back in to Skeleton's CSS and look for heavy. And I've added the class heavy to change the border and the width. By making the width 40%, it's only taking 40% of the visible space, and the border 7. Okay, now I'm going to change this again. See if that's the color I was going for. Ooh, that is not the color I was going for, but I'm going to keep it. 13, save my work. So file save, go in and reload my work here. And there we have a nice, ugly looking purple line. Okay, so how did I put the rest of this in? Let's break that down. I decided to add a third section from 72 to 82. I have taken the original 1/2 offset by 1/2 column that was given to you here, and then I added the offset to shove it over, and then just put a little bit more into it. This is also, by the way, listed at the very bottom of the documentation that came with Skeleton. I'm going to say that when they say, here's the examples and more coming soon, they don't actually mean more coming soon. This has been the way it is for the last year and a half or 2 years. But you can take the contents of this code and get started with Skeleton, and you can alter the CSS, give yourself a roadmap. You can alter the CSS so that it works with your color choices. Get started. If you have questions, I'm here to help.